learned to an election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it down, we gon' get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your Watchlist coming in December 2nd, 2020, and the stock market is headed towards a fiscal cliff, and I have one stock I'm going to be buying for this Santa Claus rally. I'm excited to share it with you. So today was a pretty boring day, but we got to hear from Powell. The market gapped up starting off December. However, there was some real realizations about what we have for the end of the year Congress voting. That is going to be the main issue. So the market wasn't too crazy today. It was about 1% across all of the indexes. We got to hear from Powell. We got to hear some of this Congress stuff, and that's kind of leading to the title of this video. But for the most part, it looks like Wall Street is getting ready for the end of the year and setting up into the new year, and there's a few things on the table. So we got a lot to talk about. I made a few plays. I got the plays for tomorrow, got the plays I'm looking at, my favorite Santa stock, and then everything else for the rest of the week, and then coming into the end of the year. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch us come to life. And yes, if you like to watch congressional meetings for hours at a time and really just learn new things, then yes, we are the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So right off the bat, today was about stimulus, but it is also pointing to a larger looming fiscal cliff as well as other cliffs. So we heard from Powell in the morning, and then at the same time of Powell and Mnuchin talking about the CARES Act, everything that's pretty much happened in the last 6, 7, 8 months regarding the recovery and what they've done to do that. You also heard about another stimulus bill. So this was important because this was the first time in probably a few months that it was mentioned that Pelosi and Mnuchin were working together. So that was important. But what we got out of that meeting, I learned some new things here. And then we've been talking about these dates, but today's meeting kind of put it in full focus. We are waiting for this fiscal cliff and then other cliffs. So if you're not familiar, the fiscal cliff is when the government is not able to decide on the budget. That would lead to a government shutdown. But then we also talked about it today. There is a lot of other cliffs. So there's multiple deadlines. There's multiple things being negotiated. It's one thing to get the government budget set up, but now with what we heard from Mnuchin and Powell regarding the CARES Act and how they're going to be unrolling stuff, even down to the PPP and all these facilities that were designed to help Americans during the recovery, those all are expiring at the end of the year. And then there's just other little votes in between. So we've talked about this before. I forgot there's one vote occurring on December 6th, but the next one to really look for, December 11th, is going to be the budgets. December 31st is when a lot of these programs expire. And then shortly after, you're going to get the inauguration. Then all of the presidential baby mama drama has to still come out too. But when we're looking at this, the congressional votes and all of these votes are probably the most important thing. Now, it was talked about during the meeting. We've even discussed this. We were saying, hey, why is Mnuchin pulling these funds and all of that? But it was kind of learned today that this plan to pull all the money on December 31st was outlined on the first day that we've passed the CARES Act and all of that. So it wasn't up to Mnuchin's discretion as much as it was kind of just following the outlined plan that was in the law. So putting that into perspective, I think that is just showing how important this is going to be to resolve and just all of these issues when it comes down to voting, CARES Act, and then the budgets and all of that. So that was the main thing today. It is going to lead to probably a lot of stuff. We're going to hear from it. And then, like I said, at the same time, you started hearing of another stimulus bill and then the first talks with Mnuchin and Pelosi. So I would not be surprised to see developments over the next few weeks. And again, like we said, coming into some of these dates, it will start to get more important as more time runs out. And then if we don't have any decisions, we will see how the market takes it. But even during that whole Mnuchin thing, it was brought up by a lot of the senators. The fact that the market has already heard that they're going to be pulling things on December 31st, and the fact that the market has not sold off is kind of even pointing to the fact that the market doesn't care, and that it would be appropriate to put some of those tools away and then give that money back, simply because the market is kind of pricing in or showing that it's not too concerned. So we'll see this week. We'll see by the rest of the month if it sticks to that, but that is going to be the key to watch. Next, tying this into kind of the broader scope of everything, there wasn't that much news today. Again, we got Powell. This is going to be the main stuff we're watching, but you saw more moves with the dollar, gold. We brought that up. To me, it's starting to look a little bit more risk on until one of these cliffs hits or unless there is an external factor. So risk off means people are getting a little bit worried. They're saying, hey, stuff's here. It's, maybe it's time to trim some of these positions. Whereas risk on is people saying, hey, there's kind of an opportunity here. I think, markets are high. There could be this and that, but it could be time to just start betting on stuff. So with how the dollar's looking and a lot of these other factors, it is starting to look risk on. So keep watching this. I keep bouncing back and forth on this because gold was showing something. We'll get to that when we get to the charts, but determining this and kind of seeing if we're going to get that Santa Claus rally or not in the next few days will be very, very key. And then finally, you are going to get that OPEC meeting, and what happens with oil will be important, but it looks like the rest of the week is going to be based off of politics, and then you're also just going to get that whole vaccine virus tug-of-war. It's now going to get into the distribution stage. They announced stuff with that, and we're going to see how the market reacts to that. But also, don't forget some of these little companies. Remember, you're seeing some of the first people report are coming out with their own vaccines, but now the next level is there's also going to be a bunch of these other little companies, and then if there's going to be some shortage or people are differentiating between the types of vaccines, I think it's still going to open up a window, so keep watch for that. But the main thing is going to be watching the calendar, so don't get too jumpy, and I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, my first Santa stock, the main one that I like, it's going to be ULTA. So we've talked about this. We're talking about, hey, what's going to be the Santa Claus rally? I asked you guys today, like, what are you looking to get for Christmas? What are you looking at? And no, you guys did not say makeup, but I kind of just put 2 and 2 together. I think this is going to be the one to do it, either ULTA or any of these makeup stocks. I think that will probably be the winner when it comes down to Christmas because it's both retail sales, they're in targets, they got all that again, and that's why ULTA is a little expensive. That's also why I don't like this stock, but it's also one that could pretty much take advantage of e-commerce as well too. So I still am betting on the payment processors and some of the facilitators like Shopify and BigCommerce, but I like this one. I didn't execute on this play. I want to hopefully let the premium come down. If it gets away from me, it gets away from me. But I really just like this logic, and I think they're probably going to be something to shine here for the holiday season. So that is the first play. As far as the other plays, I actually even bought ABBV cheap lotto plays, and really I'm saying if it breaks trend on the upside. So this may sound a little bit weird, but ABBV is a slow mover. Again, I've been saying, hey, if it hits that turbo mode, fact it is kind of slowed down a little bit, but still holding up at those higher prices. I really, really like it. So I figured I'd get something with a decent amount of time, pretty much like a month of time, a little bit longer. It is definitely really, really far out of the money considering how much ABBV moves, but you've seen ABBV do this one time in like 2017 pretty much, where it kind of broke this trend of being a slow mover and then it just catapulted up. So this is what I'm looking for, because if it doesn't level off and it just keeps going, I'm hoping it'll look like this. Again, I have long-term shares. I'm very, very biased, and that is why I didn't get leaps, because if I really believed in this, I would have got leaps, but since it pays such a good dividend, I would rather just hold the shares. But this is going to be the key to watch. So if they get any sort of vaccine news or if they find a way to kind of weasel their way in there, that could be really, really good. So I like that. The play I made on it, I ended up grabbing January 15th, 135 call. So again, like $30 move in like a month on ABBV is crazy, but they were for 7 cents. I didn't do anything. I bought 50 of them, spent $350. I'm probably either going to Ghetto spread them or sell half. However, I talked about it today. I'll even show you guys with the next play. The key is going to be the Ghetto spread. So I'm probably going to look, if the next few days it keeps going up, I'm going to want to just short the contracts above it. But now to the Ghetto spread, I encourage all of you to pay attention to this. Watch the tutorials if you haven't. We did it again today. I did it on Myrna, and it saved my ass. So this was the first play of the morning again, and maybe it's because I kept talking about it on the watch list, this idea, the Ghetto spread stuck in my mind here, but within 1 minute, I grabbed one of the Myrnas. It was going crazy. I spent $300, $285 for a weekly, and that's the 225 call right there. So follow along with me. I spent $285. I have the right to purchase 100 shares of Myrna at $225 a share. Come to the chart here, you'll be able to kind of see how it was looking. It started to move up a little in that first 3 minutes, and then it eventually sold off. But as it started to kind of gain in my favor here, these contracts, the 230s, $5 further out the money, a worse contract, they started to go up in value. So I did the Ghetto spread, and that is shorting the contract above it. I turned this into a spread now. But the biggest difference is I collected more money for a further out the money contract than I paid for the one before it. So I spent $285. 2 minutes later, this one goes up in value, the one above it, because these contracts just had wide spreads. I don't even think my contract went up, or it was just a really wide spread, but then I shorted this one for $300. So I spent $285, short this one for $3, I got $15 profit. I got all of my money back, but now I own both of these plays. So I still own the right to 100 shares at $225, but then somebody paid me $300 and I gave them the right to the shares at $230. So if the stock goes down like it did today, we both would lose, but since I collected more money than I spent, I'm going to walk away a winner. But now if the stock keeps shooting up, let's say it goes to 230, 240, whatever, I get the right at 225. I have to give it to somebody at 230. I collect the $5. So has a max gain of $500. The max loss is a profit of $15. So please, please, please keep this in mind. I really think it is Ghetto spread season coming into the holidays just because there's a lot of different opportunities. The premiums are chilling out, and then you're even seeing graveyards come up. Some of them are hitting, some are not. And when it does hit, the follow-throughs have been insane. It could give you a lot of FOMO if you miss out on any of these trades. So it's allowing us to keep our hand in the cookie jar while at the same time not having to risk it all to get some of these opportunities. So I spent $300 in the morning on Myrna. That play would have been expensive on its own. I was able to turn it to a Ghetto spread, get all of my money back, and now we still have a play for the next 4 days. We will see what happens. But utilize this strategy. It's Ghetto spread season. But as far as the other plays, I want to watch Amazon and Netflix leaps, or even short term if they start to show some life. And I even said this earlier on stream today. This is where the gas is going to come from in the market. So if you do get an end of the year melt up, you get that Santa Claus rally, you saw what happened with value, you saw what happened with some of these cyclical stocks, the vaccine stocks, the bank stocks. All of these stocks kept rotating up. The ones who have not moved has literally been FANG. Minus Apple, it's kind of moved. So Amazon and Netflix, they got a little bit of juice today. They both kind of had independent news, or I think Amazon did. But if any steam is going to come from the market, it's probably going to be through these guys, these sleeping giants waking up. So I want to watch those both short and long term and see what other plays we could get from there. As far as everything else, I will be watching a couple of other companies. Again, I'm going to be watching for ULTA tomorrow, but if it's not there, I'm not going to take it. You guys have kind of seen how I've not chased some of these. There is United Airlines. I want to see how this plays out. There was news after hours that I think United and Delta are canceling Shanghai flights. They restarted them, but it has to do with like travel issues and the requirements that it's putting on pilots and then the hotels in China. It's pretty crazy actually, but pretty much negative news regarding China and China travel there on a commercial scale. So not necessarily just passengers. There's that. Watch Space. We talked about this today. They had a deal with NASA and it started to get talked about, but this is up again. I feel the same way about some of the EV stocks with this, but I would watch it. It could create a good trading opportunity. If there's cheap plays, if there's momentum, again, a lot of people in 2020, especially now, they're not investing in companies, they're investing in stories. So Space has a good story. We'll see what happens. If there's a good trading opportunity, I'll take it. I'm definitely going to not ignore it, but I will keep my eye on it. Like we said, watch Amazon. Then there's Zoom. They dropped a lot. I'm going to hopefully see if our contracts come to life. A lot of you were surprised. I was kind of even surprised. I forgot to check it in the morning. I think it would have had more value, but those Zoom plays we got, they still closed down 11% on those weeklies. Again, it's a weekly, expires next week, and at the end of the day, even though they dropped, like 15%, you're still another $40 out of the money, and there's no earnings. But I think it's pretty realistic. Again, we already lost anyways, so I'm just going to hold that and see what happens. Maybe we could turn that to a Ghetto spread if it starts working in our favor, but those contracts and how those prices are holding up, use that as a place marker. It might be a good continuation, so we will see. Next, watch ULTA. Like we said, you could even put up Cody, any of the makeup companies. I really like Disney. Again, people have asked some of the stocks I like for this Santa Claus rally. Even in general, I've talked about this the last few weeks. Those premiums are still holding up, so I think Disney's interesting. I want the Roku. It came down today, but I still have not been able to strike on it. Again, it hasn't been appealing, and now I'm kind of starting to lean in favor to ULTA a little bit more, but hopefully you've been following along to see the logic between all of those. So watch that. Watch Tesla. They got added to the S&P, and they're getting added all in one swoop, which kind of makes a little bit of sense, but that was positive news. It brought it up. But Elon said a lot of things today, tweeting about focusing on profits. He tweeted about saying that he would also consider a talk with a rival if they wanted to buy them out, but he's not really interested in trying to buy anybody out. So hinting more to that exit plan. That was interesting. Boeing was up and then down. We're still holding that play. It was like break even, but now I think you're losing on both sides given the fluctuating of all of that. So watch them. Still holding those. Square, I want to know what this. I'm going to keep my eye on it because even PayPal has been holding up a lot. I kind of like some of these fintech stocks, but they started dropping. I'm going to just keep my eye on that this week. And then UPS and FedEx, they really, really got killed. So some of these shipping stocks, they kind of led some of this rally if you really think about it. So coming into the holidays here, this might be another canary in the coal mine. But again, don't forget about the airlines and all that we've talked about. So watch them. And then finally, like we talked about here, this whole risk on event. And now I brought up GLD yesterday in gold, and now things are looking kind of a little normal, which is making me say, okay, risk on, because now gold went up. The dollar has kept dropping, and this streak is actually really, really crazy. And you could even compare it to even when the election occurred. This is pretty big and a pretty rapid move for the dollar. It's kind of reminiscent of July when we started, ease off of the concerns from when, June and all of that. So watch them. So keep note of that. But like I'm saying, the whole formula of risk on is starting to come in play now because you're seeing the bond yields go up again, TLTs going down. That is going to work in line with now the market going up. Somebody said, is today a pullback? If anything, you're entering kind of a new level. You've gapped up a little bit above the highs, and then if we start going up here, and then if it gets reflected with the inverse in bonds as it should, and then the dollar keeps dropping, and then commodities reacting to a cheaper dollar, it's going to start looking like some risk on, and that could be a little bit bullish. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're hydrated, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to remember it's more about seeking than finding, baby. You'll see the change come out from within, baby. But the code loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.